Hi guys, welcome to the latest podcast of Yarninblak. Today I've got a great friend of mine on, Desley. I'll introduce you to her in a second. But first I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're meeting on right this particular moment. I'm here in Bairnsdale Q on the land of the Wurundjeri people. I pay respect to their elders past and present, but also want to acknowledge the young people that are coming through because they're going to be our leaders and our future warriors that are going to take culture into the future. But today I've got my very special guest on. Desley, how are you?
I am so good, brother. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Now, for people who don't know who are you, where you're from?
I'm in Bairnsdale at the moment, but I'm originally from Melbourne and spent a lot of time in Fitzroy back in the day, and Redfern. Cut my teeth there with those old school. I was on the last page of the old school and was privileged to meet a lot of the elders from back then. And I've been down in Bairnsdale now for about 14 years with my kids.
Yeah.
So I've got five kids, but I've got four still at home. Thank you, housing crisis. So my youngest, 16, they just had their 16th birthday. They're the twins last Tuesday. And and I've got the two older ones. One's at work at the moment, and the other one just set me up for Zoom. That's what you have them for.
Oh, yeah.
With IT.
Yeah.
And my youngest, she's she's one of the twins, and she has a disability. AJ, you've met Noonie.
Yeah.
Name's Eunice, named after my mum, and she's got what's called Angelman syndrome. So she might come and say hi.
Yeah, that's cool.
But hopefully nothing too crazy that we go viral.
No, that's cool. That's cool. So tell me, where did you grow up exactly?
I grew up in Melbourne.
Yep.
Not far from where you are in Hawthorn. I spent a lot of time. What's crazy, AJ, the last couple of years, I thought that I had one idea of where I grew up.
Yeah.
And how important is truth-telling.
Yeah.
And finding out the truth. And 2 years ago, I applied for the stolen gen repatriation and reparations, sorry. And I got my records. And so it really doesn't change who you are, but it changed where I was from.
Yeah.
And so I had thought that my father's white and my mum's Aboriginal. My mum's Eunice Harrison, who's a well-known member of GunaiKurnai Bidwal clan mob down here in Gippsland, and used to spend a lot of time in Melbourne and St Kilda, she did. So I thought that I'd grown up with my father when in fact I was in the homes till I was 4. I was only with him for about 7 years. And then I went back into the homes at the Lambie. So that sort of shook me up. So I was in Burnley Babies Home.
Yeah.
And then I lived in Hawthorn with my father and went to primary school there. And then I went to MLC and went in WAG school with kids in Bairnsdale Q.
Yes.
Where you are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So MLC, Methodist Ladies College.
Or Mole's Last Chance.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Did you finish high school there?
No, I got a scholarship there. I started in grade 5 back then.
Okay.
The senior school started in grade 5, and I was there until... No, beg your pardon, AJ. I started in grade 6. That's when the senior school started, in grade 6. So I did grade 6 and Form 1, and then I went to a whole lot of other high schools. The rebelliousness started kicking in. Obviously, looking back now, you realise that I was looking for my family. I was looking for my mum, and I didn't know my mother. I didn't know my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had 4 siblings. And the only thing I knew of my mother was when I'd get into trouble, my father would say, "You're just like your mother."
Yeah.
So I ended up in a Lambie in the homes. Well, sorry, I'll back up. I ended up running away when I was 11
Yeah.
from home, and being in Melbourne, I was just hanging around on the trains, flying around on the trains, meeting other runaway kids, and I ended up in a Lambie because there's Nini. And long story short, ACCA came along
Yeah.
to a Lambie and said, we're gonna help get you out of here because we're from Aboriginal childcare.
Yeah.
And that was the first time to me being Aboriginal was a good thing,
Yeah.
because all before that I didn't know my mob. I'd get called chockwedge and coon and nigger. I had to fight all through high school for being Aboriginal.
Yeah.
And my father would just, he didn't know really much, what to teach me. He'd buy me Dick Ruffsky books, so I knew about
Yeah.
the rainbow serpent. And every time Yvonne Goolagong Corley would play or the Cracker Brothers were on TV, he'd look at me and then look at me. So I was, and so then that was the first time, so these fellas are coming to help me because I'm Aboriginal.
Yeah.
And they took me to, back in the day, ACCA, of course, was just a totally different animal. And if they didn't have a place for us, then the workers would just take us home, who was the beautiful Peter Rodemer.
Yeah.
We had Jeannie McIntyre, Phil Cooper, amazing people. Margie Thorpe used to run ACCA back then.
Yeah.
And so they just take us back to their homes. We went back to Marge's for dinner, and Lydia had to share her toys with me
Yeah.
to play, and then they got me into a hostel run by Terry Hood, Uncle Terry, who's Cheryl Lee Hood's father.
Yeah.
And another well-known man in Melbourne, elder. And he took me to meet my mum. And from there I met my mob and my family, and yeah, so it's been a journey. So I was 11 years old out of the homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was it like meeting your mum?
Very difficult, because nothing's like you imagine. It's not always a homecoming and and mum, obviously she's had her own troubles and fought her own demons. Mum's still going. She's got dementia now, so I look out for mum. I'm her guardian. So she had 5 children, and I was her second youngest child.
Yeah.
And they keep a lot of those things close to their chest, those old fellas. They don't necessarily share, or they don't overshare like people do in 2026.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a sob story. Everybody wants to, snatch your baggage, and it's like a competition, who's had the hardest time. But back in my day, we didn't do that. When we all came to Fitzroy and all found each other, and you look back now, and people have had really hard times in the homes, really hard times finding their family, and we didn't really share that much about it. We were all just working out who we were and where we were from, but we'd found this amazing family within, Melbourne, within Fitzroy, and being Melbourne Blacks, and we just loved that, and just getting together and laughing and working hard and representing. And so we didn't talk much about, what had happened to us when we were younger. Didn't talk about trauma. And so definitely mum and her age didn't either.
Yeah.
And so it was just, hey, Dort, that's your brother, that's your auntie, and I'll be back later.
Yeah.
I'm going for smokes. I'll be back later.
Yeah.
Going for smokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to do whatever she was going off to do. But That's really difficult. When we were all stolen, the five of us,
Yeah.
none of us grew up together. My older brother and sister, they were both adopted, so they had I think they had a different journey.
Yeah.
My older brother and younger brother, they went through foster care and a lot of other hardships. So I was the only one who actually spent time with a parent, spent specific time with a parent. But Dad also had his demons.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of abuse there and neglect as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you think that's made you the woman you are today?
To be a survivor is one thing, to thrive is another.
Yeah.
We know this. I've had decades where I've just been surviving and I've been in that survival mode. I've been through addiction, alcohol, marijuana, cigarettes, and praise the Lord, I don't do any of that now.
Yeah.
But, you could think, was it a necessary evil? Did it get me through? Did it help? That was my coping mechanism. That's how I self-medicated.
Yeah.
But I was just surviving. So I think now in my 50s, this is my time to thrive.
Yeah.
And what a privilege, because I'm constantly saying farewell to brothers and sisters who are younger than me now.
Yeah.
So it's a privilege. But I just think that, if you're looking mentally, physically, spiritually, how do you survive? I think truth is powerful. It sets you free.
Yeah.
And I think to know who you are, who your family is, especially coming, from stolen gen. It's also a privilege. Not everybody gets to meet their mum when they come home. Not everybody gets. Oh, my mother was a keeper of family trees.
Yeah.
And so, I was able to learn a lot about who my family was. I was able to come on country where I am now and been living, which is powerful. I didn't think I'd ever leave the city, so I'm here, and for my kids, it's been the right move.
Yeah.
And but again, physically it can take a toll. If you're self-medicating and things like that, I think you eventually, having been sober now for less than, for say 6 months, been off the Yarndi a bit longer, probably about 9 months, and been off the grog for 6 months, and the smoke's probably about 3 months now.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to feel it this way, ching.
Yeah.
But it's also, how do I, there are things now, how I've got to cope with things.
Yeah.
So I do get surprised of how memories come in, feelings come in, and then just day to day how I handle things, because I didn't have good role modelling. I'm still a mum, and that's been difficult as a mother. I've been a mother for 33 years now, and I found it difficult because you go to you just start to you go to
you go to what you've learned.
That's right.
Yeah. And you didn't get the manual. You didn't get the how to be a mum manual, did you?
No. And you go to, and you've got to respond quick, and you've got to be there, and it's not always what I would choose to do.
Yeah.
So but I just think that resilience and perseverance, I have to be honest with you, AJ, I worry about people.
Yeah.
I worry that, that they feel that they've got to have everything together. I worry about mental health. I mean, you've been huge in opening that doors of understanding with mental health. I've done the mental health first aid with you, and that really, and it's not just opened my eyes, but it's also it was like straight after I was just confronted with it everywhere by
Yeah.
everybody. You know, I don't know if it's just because then you're more aware,
Yeah.
and just the need for us to really take care of ourselves and each other,
Yeah.
and for there to be places and spaces for people that are trying to cope, you know, in today's world. And for a lot, it's getting harder. Like I said, you know, housing issue for young ones.
Yeah.
I mean, full-time jobs. I mean, we were getting jobs in the 80s. There were jobs everywhere if you
Yeah.
wanted them, you know. So, but just for people having to deal with things that we just pushed along. You know,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like I laugh and say, oh, everybody's got trauma these days and everybody wants to discuss, but it is better than, you know, pushing everything under
Down.
the carpet
Yeah.
like a lot of us.
And I like how you use the word truth telling earlier, because I think a lot of truth telling is occurring in families, not just on the higher level when we talk about the, you know, the truth telling commission, but also in families, elders and people that have experienced stuff. This is really the first time in your life that you're actually now explaining it to your kids in a way that's not using all the protective words and stuff to hide stuff. It's putting it out there.
Yeah.
But we're trying to do that in a way of not to re-traumatize them,
Yes.
but to get them to understand how recent in history this stuff really, truly actually is.
Yeah, it is. And funny you say about, you know, the language that we use, because my kids will still say, Mum, you can't say that, you know, and we're still trying to find, you know, words for what we've been through, some of us. You know, it's giving us language in this day, which is good. You know, I'm seeing, okay, you know, the hypervigilance and, you know, understanding cortisol now and all those things that didn't understand when I was in it, you know, or in it to an extreme.
Yeah.
And a lot more aware of behaviours, you know, thank you, Google and Reels and all of that. But also, you know, doing stuff with you, you know, doing your course as well. But I think that, you know, within family, it's still hard.
Yeah.
You know, I find it really hard. My siblings, we're really dysfunctional, and I don't think we're ever going to. It's hard to have hope sometimes. Really heal and reconcile the way that I'd like for us to. And I don't think Mum ever really got that. I'd say my brothers and sister never actually got the closure they needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think my mum ever got that, you know, lovin's that, you know, because it was hard. Mum didn't actually have like a home.
Yeah.
Where we came home to her house and was like, yay, you know, and it was so we never, just a minute, AJ. Noonie, can you please turn that down? Thank you, Mama. We never had a birthday all together. Never had a birthday with my mum and my brothers and sisters. We've never had a Christmas dinner all together. Yeah, and those things, you do your best to give that to your kids.
Yeah.
You know, that's breaking the chains.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the first. Noon, can you turn it down, please, or shut your door? My great grandmother, she died in childbirth, giving birth to my grandmother's sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my grandmother didn't grow up with her mother.
Yeah.
And then my mum was given away to an elder who couldn't have children. She was a barren lady on the mission on Lake Tyers.
Yeah.
And so then Mum didn't bring up any of her children.
Yeah.
So I'm the first in 4 generations to bring up my children.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my line. Because my nan did bring up her other kids.
Yeah.
And then I'm the only one out of my siblings who brought up their children, their children
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So it's a privilege, you know. And I'm blessed, and I'm grateful, because I know that that's not easy for everybody.
No.
You
And you've
know.
done an amazing job doing that. But I don't think people realize how hard that would have been, because the role modeling around you didn't exist. So
Yeah.
you're experimenting and learning and
Yeah.
parenting all at the same time.
Yeah. And coming through an age where things just changed so much. You know, I guess that's, you know, every generation's going to say that, you know, the boomers were so different from the silent generation. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm like a 70s kid. Jamesy, can you just shut that, Mama? Thank you. Because, you know, you definitely can't you can't crack your kids like we cracked our kids.
No, no.
Oh,
There's
right, we
laws
got
that
cracked.
prevent us from doing that. Yeah.
You know, but again, it's hard. You know, I've got a daughter, we're estranged at the moment, you know, and I hope that that's temporary.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of hurt that I passed on,
Yeah.
you know, because you are only doing it for the first time, and you are flying by the seat of your pants. I didn't have good role models, and I didn't have. Now, I had a lot of beautiful aunties, and I'm grateful for them too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, there's a lot of those aunts too. They led tough lives in tough places.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now you mentioned also being up in New South Wales and in Sydney and Redfern. Tell us about what Redfern was like back then.
A vibe. It was a vibe. I went up for went to start at the Aboriginal Dance Theatre in Redfern.
Yeah.
So that was a blast with Christine Donnelly. Amazing people who I met, the Jenny Coes and Lyle Munros, and my besties, Bronwyn Penrith, and these fellas. It was happening, you know, everybody, and did not ask for permission.
Yeah.
That's how I'd describe, you know, those days of Fitzroy and Redfern. But Redfern was just, again, you know, they had the block in the middle of Sydney, so it's just like a mission in Sydney. You had the black market, and it was that idea of, you know, what money that we've got, let's keep in our community. You know, you had the Redfern All Blacks,
Yeah.
and you had just unapologetically black.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to do it our way. That's self-determination, that's self-management. And I was really blessed. I was mentored by the likes of Bruce McGuinness, Gary Foley, and people, you know, back then were just so generous to share,
Yeah.
just really generous to share what they knew. It was exciting. Black books, it was exciting. Black publications.
Yeah.
To refer people to, and to say, read this, you know, have you read what this one says? And now, how exciting for our young ones that everything's at the fingertips,
Yeah.
you know, papers, and there's just a wealth of, like, again, truth telling, and also, you know, being able to research. That was a big skill of mine, that I was very curious as a young person. And I was very well read, because I'd had a very lonely childhood. So, you know, back then, instead of scrolling, you were reading. That's what you did,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was really curious, and I did a lot of research, and that got me a lot of places. You
Yeah.
know, I ended up moving on from the dance theatre. You know, we had the Black Theatre. They're like, come on to the Black Theatre. I'm like, we're the Black Theatre. There's no Black Theatre. It had been knocked down, but it was still called the Black Theatre.
Yeah.
And right next door was Radio Redfern. And I'd been around 3CR in Melbourne a lot. I hadn't actually been on the decks, but you know, black radio was a thing, you know. It was the way we'd get our voice out two ways was big, was T-shirts, it was huge, printing.
Yeah.
you know, screen printing, and was such a huge part of protest and of identity.
Yeah.
And so was radio. It was really big, and you had big names back then. Of course, Joel Wright, and he was one of the first national producers at
Yeah.
ABC. And in Melbourne, you had Gilla McGuinness, and you had in Redfern it was Tiger Bales, and so these were legends, in the community. And if you were ready and willing, there was always room.
For you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I think. That's what makes me sad these days is how spaces are really controlled.
Yeah.
In some of our black spaces, organisations, whatever
Yeah.
that people have become very tight-fisted. With their titles and with what they're doing, and I see that as fear, you
Yeah.
know, and power. And back then, you just didn't have that, AJ. It was like, oh, you want to come pick out some songs, come sit down. People would walk in. Where I end up, doing a lot of work with Radio Redfern up there, and we had the mob sitting at the Black Theatre having a few drinks, and they'd come in and they'd start their request. You know what they're like when they're
Yeah.
charged up and they
Yeah.
want to. So you're just like, oh, just grab them, just grab what you want, and let's play it. Everybody
Yeah.
was able to. There was space for everybody, and the same with organisations. And I understand that. Obviously there's protections in place too. It's one comes with the other.
Yeah.
That it's not as spaces these days aren't as open
Yeah.
because things have come into play with, and that's protections. Whether you want to go into, there's insurances to pay and all that
Yeah.
as well. I get that. We can't just all, make a big feed and
Yeah.
because then council might come down, somebody gets sick and all this
Yeah.
sort of jazz. I get it.
Yeah.
And yes, we've got to have
Policies for washing your hands and making what do you call it, sandwiches. You need a cookie. What do you call it? A license to prepare
Well,
food.
you remember Auntie Connie, eh? Auntie Connie
Yes.
was cooking, doing the cooking for the NAIDOC.
Doc. Yes.
And a couple of the uncles came up and said, oh, can we help too? And she said,
Yeah.
did you wash your hands? And they said, oh. She said, I don't want duty damper. Auntie Connie.
Yeah.
Shout out to Auntie Connie.
Yeah.
So, and nobody wants duty damper.
No.
But, so look, I understand all that, and
Yeah.
we said we're not going to get too political.
No.
I guess, in order to create safe spaces, you've got to have boundaries. That's just like, that's not just like with
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And I respect that. I just, I really, like you said at the beginning, these young ones, the youth and our future, they are going to shape our future and shape our culture.
Yes.
And let's give them the best tools to do that. Let's be sharing. Again, you're talking about elders sharing, the families sharing.
Yeah.
And that's taken time and it's taken generations. I see the difference when I look across at a lot of my brothers and sisters and my nieces coming up, and how they are in their families and in their homes, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
The openness of talking that we didn't have,
Yeah.
and I love that, and I want that to carry on into our organisations where older people are always generous with their knowledge and willing, and us. And I think it's a difference back in our day. Like we'd sit at an elder's feet for an hour or longer and just be glad, to mix with our elders and sit with our elders.
And hear what they've got to say and hear their stories and
Yes.
hear their disagreements as well. That actually,
Yes.
where people tell different versions of the story, and the sister
Yes.
Auntie jumps in and goes, "That's not how it occurred."
Yeah. and you'd have to just accept both versions most
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
time, you know.
Yeah.
No one was willing to.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
weren't willing to either compromise or actually go
no.
back down. Yep. This is two different versions, but yeah, they're both at the same event, but yeah, they're very
Yes,
different.
and that's it, you know.
Yeah,
And there was a richness in that,
there
you know,
was.
and that's the same with, you know, how our young people can approach things in the future of how they're going to resolve things and how, you know, everybody's, you know, got their own truth.
Yeah.
And I love that our culture's alive. You know, I had a beautiful brother who's no longer with us who worked at the museum in Melbourne, and him taking me through, and he had a real passion about that our culture. You know, he had a real he wanted to make it clear to people because in the museum there were so many artifacts, you know, that he
Yeah.
was curator of, and dating back and telling that story, and he wanted to make it clear to people, but we're still here, you know, where this isn't, these are historical pieces and they tell of a history of a current people, and that we can make new weapons, and we can make new art styles, and we can make new ways of weaving, um, and like, that's why I like what you said
Yeah.
about young people are going to shape our culture.
Yeah. And I think those artifacts, sometimes I refer to them too, is that artifact is only a piece of time in our history.
Mm.
And we've now come to 2026, so we've modified some of those practices. We've updated some of those practices where you know, like as you said before, we didn't have the internet and stuff, and we didn't have social media. That we can still have family gatherings on social media, and we can still look at those historical artifacts and go, this is exactly how it was at that particular moment in time. Some of those practices we still carry on, but there might be a 2026 twist that goes with them.
Yes, I like that, and how we can apply that to ourselves as you're telling that.
Yes.
You know, as coming into, you asked me before, do I call you auntie yet? No, there's auntie time. I'm
Yeah.
definitely an auntie to many, and a grand aunt. I'm still blessed. I've got my older brother and older sister, and my mum. You know, I'm very
Yeah.
blessed. I've got mum's got sisters still alive, and um, you know, I can look back in that time and say the way you are in your 20s, that you've got to own that and accept that was who I was at that time, you
Yes.
know, and that we evolve and become a little more refined, you know. But I think I love every version of me, even when I was little Des, you know,
Yeah.
10-year-old, where my best friends were in books, where I was hurt, I was alone, I was confused. I've got a lot of respect for her because she
Yeah.
got me to this place too, you
Yeah.
know. And for the crazy wild Des in her 20s, and or what, then the angry one in her 40s, thank you menopause,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I like where I am now, and it's a privilege. Aging is a privilege, but
Yeah.
definitely, like us through our times, you know, I still see the strength of character comes through from who you were when you're a young kid. There's still things that have been you all along. And I see that with our mob. You know, we only have to look at the fighting Gunditjmara, who are
Yeah.
always the fighters. You know, Gippslanders always say we're the funniest mob in Victoria. I reckon we were.
I reckon they are. They're also the strangest as well, but in a fun way.
I mean, strangers in short and hairy, or
No, strangers in odd and peculiar, and but in a fun way, if that
that's
makes
my
sense.
mob.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And the stories that we've got down here amazing because I'm Bidwal and Gunai,
Yeah.
and Bidwal is where my heart is, and that's up in the mountains, up in the snowies, and we've got the Moses stories up there through the massacres, the Bidwal crew. We sheltered a lot of people who were running, from the massacres, and they'd come up to the mountains, and we took on a
Yeah.
lot of mob, and we'd come down and do flash attacks on, the hunting parties, and then we'd go back, into they couldn't find us. Um, and my great grandfather, or my little brother will say, "Don't go back to the dream time, Desley." Or I'll go, "My great grandfather, my great." I'll throw another great in there.
Right. Yeah.
Grandfather Charlie Hammond, and he was, put in reeds in a basket and down the Snowy River after a massacre, and was found. And he wasn't the only person either,
Yeah.
in those days. That's what I call our Moses babies. So
Yeah.
real survivors down in Gippsland. So I think that accounts for the quirky personalities, they're
Yeah.
just survivors,
Yeah.
yeah, out in the bush. And but yeah, I love when we all getting together, like in NAIDOC week
Yeah.
is coming up, and
Is what's your plans for NAIDOC?
I'm coming up with the twins because they're 16, so it goes quick. And next time they'll be, I'm not traveling with you, Mum. I'm going to do my own thing. So
Yeah.
I'm going to cherish this time with the kids, and hopefully catch up some 3-on-3, some
Yeah.
basketball for son. And they've got a Deadly But Different, which is great. We won't be able to make it for that, but that's what I'm really loving, how Melbourne does a lot for our special kids,
Yeah.
and our tricky mob, I
Yeah.
call them. But yeah, hopefully I'll be there for variety night to see Rio all out, and
Yeah.
the march. And I won't bet the ball this year, but I'll just be just doing family stuff and
Yeah.
just enjoying seeing everybody, and that's what we love, and that we can pick out, even though I might not see people who I haven't seen for a while, I can pick out their kids and grannies. We can,
Yeah.
we've all got those, we know who's who. Oh, that's Shet Mod. Oh, that's definitely somebody from down
Yeah.
Warrnambool, or yeah, up
Yeah.
on the Mighty Murray. So
Yeah.
yeah, I look forward to seeing everybody. That's when we've got to get together, not just wait for the funerals, AJ.
I know. And I think when we get to an age, and like I'm turning 55 this year, okay, I am starting to see, and you mentioned it before, there are a lot of our mob passing away and leaving, and we're at that age now where every day we should start to cherish more, because we're going to funerals of people 45,
Yeah,
50. I buried my brother, my younger brother, last year, and he hadn't even turned 50 yet.
yeah.
Um,
Very good.
and that's something that non-Indigenous people, our chronic illnesses and our deaths are actually quite younger. And, we're lucky, we've seen recently down here in Melbourne, some elders get into their 90s, but they're the rarities, not the normalcy, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
And for a lot of us that have been through a lot of trauma in our lives, we're now at a place where I know for me that I'm probably as settled now than ever in my whole life.
yeah.
And
Same.
same, it's that I do the same thing as you. I look back on my life now and I go, I don't regret anything I've been through, because when I look at it, it taught me something,
Yeah,
and it's made me who I am today. It has made me vulnerable, and like you talked about, little Des, like there's a little AJ that pops out every now and then, and sometimes he might be sad or might be upset or might be, but I have to stop and actually go, what is that little AJ trying to tell me?
Mm.
And it's, you learned how to survive.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that I try to actually get people to do. We are survivors. We do write our own books, and some of my chapters haven't been written yet, but I'm going to be
Yeah.
around to actually write some of those chapters
Yeah.
because
Isn't it? And
I want my kids to be able to take culture into the future, because I didn't always grow up with it either.
yeah. Yeah. What a
Yeah,
privilege, eh, brother? And that, you know, so many of our brothers and sisters didn't get that piece.
I know.
You
And it's
know,
so hard because, some of some of our parents never got some of that either,
that's
and
right.
some of our grandparents didn't get that. And I'm lucky to hear in my lifetime that I actually heard the apology, for example, by Kevin Rudd, because my mum never heard that.
Yeah,
My grandmother would have never heard that,
that's right.
and they were probably impacted more than I was. But
Yeah,
at least I got to hear that. And
yeah,
to me, the apology meant recognition that my story was real,
yep,
if that makes sense.
yeah. And that our mother's pain was real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that those stories that may or may not have been passed on, there was a real reason why
mm.
why people have been disconnected. And
And I think our knowledge bank, you know, Blackfellas knowledge bank is always is still so different. I know that we're trying to truth tell, to, you know, we've had Uruk, we've been trying to educate, you know, people since we were young,
yeah,
you know, and I can still sit and, you know, listen to somebody who doesn't get it. And I look, and nowadays it's like, do I take the time now or just accept you're going to vote for One Nation? There's nothing I can do
yeah,
about that right now. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
just think that I don't even think of it as opposing anymore. It's just, we've just got our knowledge bank,
yeah,
and it's so precious, and we're so privileged to have it, those who've shared it and have created, and, you know, we've played our role in creating and adding to it as well.
yeah,
And that there's just going to be a side of Australia that only we know.
yeah. And we're also at an age too where we go, we now choose which battles we want, because I'm probably very similar to you, that it's during my 20s I might have been fighting for stuff, and I was very angry and I was out there, and then all of a sudden I'm at a stage now where it's like I don't have the energy for some people. Like,
No,
you're never going to get it,
no,
and there's no point me even trying, so I'm going to step away from this one.
yeah,
But then on the other hand, there might be another day going, no, this one's worth the battle.
yes, yeah. This stops with me.
Yeah, we choose the battles that we actually want,
Yes,
but we step back for the ones that we don't actually want to get involved in either.
yeah, and because our kids will, you know, that's part of the mantle that they take up now, you
Mm.
know, and they will, you know, they're growing up in an information age again. You know, what's there, as long as they you know, hold fast and to that blackfellow knowledge bank, you know, that they can, sometimes they don't realise, you know, they're
No.
just going along, especially in Melbourne. It can be such a, you know, it's such a multicultural, you know, until something, you know, where they go, hang on a minute, no, you haven't got that right.
Yeah,
And let me sit you down, and I just want to share something with you,
yeah,
you know, and in the meantime, you know, I just want them to be strong, know who they are,
yeah,
you know, and be just proud of those who've gone before us,
yeah,
and that they made it through, that we're here now,
yeah.
you
And
know?
I think that's been the change in the narrative, because I remember growing up and you'd hear stories of elders and they were the victims of our stories. But all of
Mm,
a sudden now we're sharing stories where our elders are the heroes of our stories.
yes.
we wouldn't be here without them. And the narrative has started to change. And I'm hearing the younger kids actually talk about how proud they actually are of their nan and what she did and how she did it, because without that, they wouldn't be here today calling themselves Aboriginal, because those laws should have wiped us out by now.
Yeah.
But
So
we're still
that's
here.
enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. It's like, what did your nan do? She survived.
Yeah.
And she had us, and that's enough. You know, I went to, had a meeting down at the school today with my son in year 10. He's picking out new, the courses for year 11, etc. And I said to the teacher there, I said, my mum wasn't allowed to go to school in this town.
Yeah.
And we weren't allowed to go to school in this town, And now we've got multiple fellas going through and graduating, and that's what I like to see, AJ.
I know. It's actually beautiful.
And that's
because
them doing it.
It is. And I think that some people forget that this is sometimes the first generation of our young people actually getting to year 12.
Yes.
And sometimes the first ones that are not actually having kids really early. So they'll actually be able to either possibly go to university or TAFE straight away.
Yeah.
And make things of their life in order to, and I'm not saying people don't make things of their life, because we all make things of our life, but they have different opportunities, because, with qualifications also becomes different employment opportunities, and different employment opportunities can change financial situations, and financial situations can give people sometimes the firsts that we may not have been able to have.
That's right. I mean, and also, and you'd remember being at school and doing something well. You might get a good result on your test, and the teacher would say, "Oh, you can do for your people." And it's like that. I don't put that burden on my kids. We don't put that burden on my kids. Not gonna. Well, I don't have to carry a whole nation on my shoulders. Thank you very much. I just want to meet my brothers and sisters. And so, like, for my son, he's the first. In our line, his father and mother, to graduate.
Yeah.
And that's enough. That's huge. That's
huge.
beating a path. It's beating a path, because you do what you can see, you do what you see. And I'm proud of all our kids, wherever they're at.
And if they can get their kids to get to year 12, then the cycle's actually broken.
It's becoming a well-beaten path.
Yeah. Because none of them, I've been to university, but my story is a little bit different. But none of my brothers have. I've got my youngest brother has, but the rest haven't. I've got brothers' kids that are in the child protection system, and my brother's grandchildren in the child protection system. So for my brothers, the cycle has not actually stopped. And all I've said in both my kids have finished year 12, and both of them have got, my daughter's studying at the moment, university, and my son's already been to the TAFE and got a qualification. They're the first in my family to have done that.
Yeah.
And I'm going, that's a great thing. But people say that, and I say, but I haven't broken the cycle yet. I've got to make sure that their kids get the opportunity as well. And then I know the cycle's broken.
That's right. And we're linear. So we can't just go, well, I'm right and my kids are right and my grannies. We're always going to be thinking of our brothers and sisters and their kids and their grannies.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, black fellas who have a lived experience of being black, we're going to have the D8, child protections still in our family. We've still got mob in jail. We've still got, mob dying young.
Yeah.
And, we've still got a community that we care for and that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
So we want that well-beaten path for everybody, No good sitting on top of the mountain all by yourself.
No.
Hey.
Yeah. And that's why I say, and as a great leader, sometimes it's not about, being in the front all the time. Sometimes it's being behind and pushing people up that mountain.
Absolutely.
That's what I say to all the kids that I work with at the schools and stuff. Like, they might see me as the leader, and I go, but I'm not. I'm not the one out the front. I'm the
Yeah.
one behind,
Yes.
pushing you up the hill. I'm
Yeah.
the one that's creating environments for you to shine.
Yes. I find that a lot too, and again, another privilege, that we've been, in our younger days up front and, first in, first to speak, and I'm glad that had that boldness and encouraged to have that by people who were behind, who were saying, go on, you do it, and I love doing that. I love being that as well, creating safe spaces and
Yeah,
for our mob to do that, and just encouraging. Yeah,
yeah,
encouragement is so important for our young ones, just to believe in themselves.
yeah. Now I'm watching the time. I know that
Yes.
we need to go, but I've got one final question for you, and that is my brain's not working for a second. That is, what would you like people to walk away with from our yarn this evening?
From our yarn, AJ, get on board with mental health first aid,
Good one.
because between you and I, that's how we met, and I love you for that. I love what you're doing. Talk to your elders while you've got them. Such a privilege while you've got elders. Sit at their feet, spend time with them, check on them, look after them. Know the privilege that you have, and just just be ready to heal those spaces. There's a lot of our families and our communities still need a lot of healing.
Yeah,
And I love my mob.
yeah. I think I love that.
Strong.
You know how much I love and care for you as well. So I'm sending you big hugs now. But I want to thank you for joining me on our podcast. I know that the listeners will love you, and I might even see if I can get you to come back very shortly to do another one with us. But guys, I want to thank you for joining us for our podcast, and I want to thank Desley as well. So thanks heaps, Des.
God bless. Love you, AJ.
Thank you. Love you too.
Soon.